Thank you for joining us this evening for the Hickel and Egan Awards for Excellence in Public Policy Leadership. This is a very special occasion for us each year. We appreciate you taking the time to help us celebrate while working to keep one another safe. My name is Tara Smith. I'm the president of the Commonwealth North Board of Directors, and yes, we are fully clothed.
Now, Terry, you stuck me over here in an isolation booth because I've been coughing a bunch. I see you're wearing a necktie. This is the first time I've had a necktie on, except one other occasion since March. But I do have my Arctic Ivory on as well. Hey, before we get started, I just want to say a fast prayer to Don Young, who tweeted today that he's fighting COVID. I believe he's stronger than an ox, and I think he's going to get through it. He's one of our former honorees, past honorees on this, and would just like all of you to keep him in your prayers. And while circumstances dictate that we can't get together face to face for tonight's event, we felt it was important to press forward and continue as best we can. And thank you for being in this virtual environment for a very real recognition. Now, we were speaking of neckties. We've got Oliver and Jake being honored tonight. I remember seeing Oliver quite a bit in the pantry at the Captain Cook Hotel. And I think he told me that he always just kept his suits in Anchorage. He didn't need them up north. Tara, I don't think I've ever seen you wear a necktie, but we have been many places in the circumpolar north, and we're really honored to honor you tonight too. So Terry, back to you.
Tonight's event originates from the traditional homeland of the Dena'ina Athabascan. Commonwealth North acknowledges that Alaska is the traditional homeland of more than 220 tribes. Today and every day, we give thanks for the diversity, resilience, and generosity of Alaska's indigenous peoples.
Hey, Terry, let's go now to the Alaska Native Heritage Center for a welcoming dance. Wow, thank you. Well, we thank Emily Edenshaw at the Alaska Native Heritage Center and performers Hannah Hamilton, Andrew Weaver, and Taylor Hamilton. So Terry, what's next?
Well, Meade, let's call on Father Leo Walsh, a Commonwealth North Board member, for the invocation. Father Leo.
Great. Blessed you, Lord God of all creation. You arrange the times and seasons in wondrous harmony, and you call us to reflect that harmony in our relationships with one another, in our homes, in our communities, in our state, and in our world. Bless the work of Commonwealth North as we seek to learn more about one another and the issues that confront us in the present day. May our dialogue bring clarity where there is confusion and mutual respect where there is discord. Bless also those whom we honor this day, as we thank them for the contribution to the common good. As we cannot gather as in the past due to the current pandemic, we especially intercede on behalf of all who are affected directly or indirectly by the effects of this disease. We thank you for the progress that has been made in its eradication, and we ask that you bless the efforts of those who care for others. May all that we do begin with your inspiration, be sustained by you, and by you be happily ended. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Father Leo. Over to you, Mead.
Well, thank you. And Terry, before we get started, I also just want to say that events like this are made possible by the generous support of our sponsors. We want to thank visionary sponsor, Arctic Slope Regional Corporation tonight, leader sponsors, Alaska Airlines, ConocoPhillips Alaska, GCI, Providence Health and Services Alaska, the Rasmussen Foundation, advocate sponsor, Alaska USA Federal Credit Union, ANCSA Regional Association, Linden Transport, Ocean Beauty Seafoods, Oil Search Alaska LLC, Vitus Energy LLC, Coniag Incorporated, Alyeska Resort, Bristol Bay Native Corporation, Logistics LLC, Quintillion, and Wells Fargo, Alaska. Especially during these current circumstances, we appreciate the support of our members and sponsors.
Outstanding. Thanks, Mead. And a huge thank you to our sponsors. And speaking of sponsors, as our visionary sponsor, we asked Arctic Slope Regional Corporation to share a thoughts or two in our program. It is so fitting and appropriate that ASRC provided us with one of its Emmy-winning award, I Am Inupiat messages. It was conceived by a team led by our Egan Award honoree, Tara Sweeney, and featuring one of our Hickel Award honorees, Oliver Leavitt.
My home resides in the furthest northern community in America. The Inupiaq has shared this land for generations. Long before statehood, this area attracted whalers and traders. Recently, my community changed its name from Darrow to Utqiagvik. Our history and culture still revolves around whaling and paying respect to nature. I am Inupiaq, and we are ASRC, strengthening Alaska through our values.
Thanks again to the great team at ASRC for sharing that inspirational message. Mead, what's next?
Well, Terry, I thought you and I might talk just a little bit about Commonwealth North. There's a photo going up on the screen, and as you know, for about more than 40 years, Commonwealth North has served as Alaska's premier nonpartisan public policy forum focused on studying and resolving Alaska's most critical issues. What I think is fun about this picture is, first off, we had only one woman on the board when we got started. It's Helen Fisher sitting there next to Bill Sheffield. We've done it. We're doing a lot better than that today. We've had several women presidents, but I think it's important to just take a look at that picture. If we can put it up again, you had Lauren Lounsbury, Bob Hardig, Bill Tobin, of course, Bill Egan and Wally Hickel, Max Hodel, Glenn Olds, Henry Hedberg, Glenn Simpson, who headed ARCO at the time, Carl Brady, the helicopter pioneer, Larry Carr, the shopping center and pioneer, Maury Thompson, the late Maury Thompson, who actually also worked in the Bureau of Indian Affairs. Tara might speak about him tonight, Helen Fisher, and Bill Sheffield. And of course, Helen not only was the first woman on our board, but she's the one, as Democratic National Committee woman in the 50s, got us to send forget-me-nots to people in the lower 48 to help us fight for, help us get statehood. So when you think of the Alaska flower, the forget-me-not, think of Helen. But over the years, forums for elected leaders, thought leaders to share new ideas, gain Alaskan perspectives, and explore public policy solutions. I remember Bill Egan and Wally Hickel handing a set of cards to Jimmy Carter when he was president coming through here. Today, we've got 4 new reports in the works. One, we've got a study group on energy, a study group on the Alaska budget, which has got an amazing website. We have a study group you're leading, Terry, on food security, and one on Arctic policy that I'm leading. So I'm just going to say about Commonwealth North. If you're not a member, you're welcome to join.
Please, we have a lot of fun here and we are very busy and need broad representation from across the state. Commonwealth North has a unique role in the state. Our articles of organization require we research and present all sides of the policy issues we study and the lessons we share. Commonwealth North was formed for this purpose by former governors William A. Egan and Walter J. Hickel, one-time political rivals who came together to focus on moving Alaska forward at a critical time in our state's history. Since 1999, Commonwealth North has recognized outstanding Alaskans who contributed to our state through their leadership, commitment to public service, and love for Alaska. This work is a gift to our state and its residents. We thank past honorees for their leadership and contributions to our state.
So Terry, can you name all those pictures up there?
I could try.
You tried. Well, let's see. Governor Hickel, Senator Stevens, Governor Hammond, Congressman Young, John Katz, who ran our state's office in Washington under many governors, Willie Hensley, who we'll hear from tonight, Senator Lisa Murkowski, Governor Tony Knowles, Governor Frank Murkowski, Jim Jansen, Tom Barrett, and John Sturgeon. What a crew. And it's a very good thing that we're adding 3 super new people tonight. You know, let's go now and listen to a fantastic rendition of the Alaska flag song.
Each stars of gold on a field of blue, Alaska's flag, may it mean to you. The blue of the sea, the evening sky, the mountain lakes and the flowers nearby, the gold of the early sourdough's dreams, the precious gold of the hills and streams, the brilliant star in the northern sky, the bear, the dipper, and shining high, the great North Star with its steady light o'er land and sea, a beacon bright. Alaska's flag to Alaskans dear, the simple flag of a last frontier.
Fantastic. Savannah Simpkins, who just sang that, is based in Eagle River. She's a graduate of Chugiak High School, obviously an accomplished jazz singer, and she's also a vocal coach. Thank you, Savannah Simpkins. Beautiful job. So tonight, Commonwealth North is privileged to recognize a trio of Alaska leaders, all of whom hail from Utqiagvik, but whose lives and careers have spanned not only Alaska, but the circumpolar Arctic and the farthest, highest reaches of our country.
Let's begin the recognition of tonight's honorees with the messages from the Alaska Congressional Delegation.
Well, good evening. Thank you for allowing me to join you for this virtual celebration as we honor some of Alaska's outstanding leaders in public policy. The individuals being honored tonight and all those honored before them have really gone above and beyond the call of duty as public servants. I think we can all agree to that. But we know that Alaska is far better off because of their dedication to creating a better future for our state. So this evening, to be able to join with you to honor 3 great Native Alaskan leaders makes it a pretty special evening. The late Jacob Adnagi Adams Sr. and Oliver Leavitt are being recognized with the Walter J. Hickel Award for Distinguished Public Policy Leadership for their lifelong efforts and their countless contributions, not only to the Alaska Native community, but to all of Alaska. I think it is so appropriate, it's so fitting that they're being recognized together for one award, because as I think of them, I always think of them as a team. They have operated as a team for as long as I can remember. I think the first time I had an opportunity to meet Jake Adams, he was with Oliver Leavitt, and probably Lucille and Annie were with them as well. Jacob Adams was an incredible man of wisdom, leadership, and really service above self. He was so widely respected. As an elder, his impact on the Alaska Native community, I think we can truly say, is unparalleled. Jake built the Arctic Slope Regional Corporation into the state's largest privately owned corporation. But when we think of him, or when I think of him, I don't necessarily think of him in a suit and in a boardroom, but he was comfortable there. He was a leader in that setting, but he was also a leader as a whaling captain, as founder of the Alaska Eskimo Whaling Commission, during his time in his service as mayor of the North Slope Borough. But he is a volunteer in so many, many more things. It was hard for all of us when we learned of Jacob's passing, and had an opportunity to send my best to Lucille, to his family, the community. But the contributions that Jacob Adams provided, again, not only for his community, but for the Alaska communities that we recognize, this tribute here tonight, this recognition that you are bestowing on him is entirely fitting. It's also so fitting, though, to recognize Oliver Leavitt, a longtime friend and a partner of Jake's since childhood days. I was trying to think back when I first recalled meeting Jake and Oliver, and I actually believe it was on one of their advocacy trips back to Washington, D.C. I was either in college or in law school. It goes back that long in terms of that advocacy. The story, and I'm sure it will be told numerous times this evening, but when I think of Oliver and the life that he led as a young man growing up there in Barrow and Utqiagvik, he would tell the story about how it was his job to go walking the beach there, looking for driftwood, looking for coal to basically keep the family home warm. And it was in school that he knew he was going to be warm every day. And knowing that he wanted more for his community, knowing that he wanted more for his family, he has dedicated his life to transforming and really coming into the 21st century, this extraordinary region within the North Slope Borough. But Oliver, like Jake, has served in so many different corporate capacity. He has served as both a board member and co-chair of AFN, first president of North Slope Borough Assembly, multiple positions on the ASRC board, and so much more. But again, it was more the human side that most of us really know and love Oliver. Serving the community, serving as a whaling captain, a boat builder, helping out with Barrow's local search and rescue. I can't count the number of times when I have called Oliver to speak with him, or he's had to come back to Washington, D.C., or I run into him and he's a little bit grumbly because he's like, you're interrupting my hunt. I should be out at hunting camp right now. So Oliver Leavitt, always grounded, a truly extraordinary Alaskan. And then the third great Alaskan that we are recognizing this evening is a very, very, very special woman and a friend of mine, Tara Sweeney. Tara is being recognized with the William A. Egan Award for Distinguished Alaskan. Tara, I think we would all say, is a fierce advocate. She is a fierce advocate for Native people. She is a fierce advocate for all Alaska. She is a fierce advocate for her family. And yet, as I say fierce, and you think of the advocacy that she promotes, she does this with a passion and a heart that is just apparent to all. After President Trump selected Tara to serve as Assistant Secretary of Indian Affairs, she has taken on this role in a way and a manner that has not only brought meaningful and measurable impacts for the benefit of Alaskan Native communities, but for Native people throughout the country. And we have been so extraordinarily proud of her leadership. And then she's taking on initiatives that will continue so far into the future. And again, I'm so proud of the work that she's doing. It was several years ago, I teamed up with former Senator Heidi Heitkamp. We were working on the issue of missing murdered Indigenous women. Really, most had no idea the extent of the crisis that Alaska was facing and what we were seeing really around the country. Today, we've got two bills that we have had the president sign into law. We've got a presidential executive order on murdered missing Indigenous. We have a task force aimed to address this crisis, and Tara is leading it. She's made this possible. The progress that we've made for the sake of our Native women and children is simply could not have been accomplished without Tara's dedication and hard work. And so knowing that we have an advocate like her, a fierce advocate, to advance these efforts and so many, many, many efforts, again, for Alaska Natives, but Native people around the country. So extraordinary Alaskans that we're able to recognize tonight. And of course, this year, due to COVID-19, the celebration doesn't look quite like it has in past years. But we know that it doesn't take banquet halls full of people to recognize the good work of Alaskans. So tonight, we honor them through this online ceremony, but together, every day, we can honor them by treating others with kindness and respect, by going out of our way to improve the lives of others, by serving our state with whatever skills we're blessed with, just as Jake and Oliver and Tara have. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts. We love you.
And it's a true honor to be able to say a few words about the honorees from Commonwealth North today, particularly for the Walter J. Hickel Award for Distinguished Public Policy and Leadership and the William A. Egan Award for the Distinguished Alaskan. What a trio. What a trio we are honoring today. It's no exaggeration, at least from my perspective, to say three of my favorite people in all of Alaska, heck, all of America, with Jake Adams, Oliver Leavitt, and Tara Sweeney. I'm lucky enough to have called them friends, mentors, colleagues, and people that I, like I'm sure so many of you, have learned so much from. So, where to start? My goodness, I don't even know. Jake and Oliver certainly are legends in their own right, first and foremost, on so many things. Whaling captains, leaders of their community, family men, which of course is so important, trailblazers, and just men of honor and humility, and in my view, statesmen. Of course, we're very saddened by the loss of Jake Adams recently, I want to again extend my condolences to his wife Lucille and the rest of the Adams family and all of the North Slope Borough. I did have the opportunity to watch the memorial service in the cold. I watched it on Zoom like so many did, but it was a beautiful service. Let me just say a few words about Jake Adams. One of the great honors of my life was to have him as a friend and a mentor. He has done so much in terms of living a life well lived, but also so much in mentoring and providing wisdom to the next generation of Alaskans, not just from the North Slope, but from all over. My own personal experience with Jake extends well beyond a decade. And one of the first challenges, a big issue I had, it was a difficult issue when I was Attorney General. I didn't really know exactly how to solve it. I had an idea of how to solve this very challenging issue. And I flew all the way to Utqiagvik to just seek a meeting with him, seek his counsel, seek his advice, a one-on-one meeting, seek his wisdom. And he helped me, helped the state get through what could have been a really difficult issue that I was dealing with as Alaska's Attorney General. And of course, with his wisdom and integrity, it worked out for all of us. So on so many things, that's just one example in my own small world. But, you know, I think true leaders do that. They help the next generation. They provide wisdom. And of course, I know that he's already being honored in so many ways, whether it's his work as a whaling captain. We achieved a huge success in Brazil with the International Whaling Commission just last year. And his legacy is so important with that, with ANCSA, with so many issues. But I always like to say about him and Oliver, they're not just great Alaska Native leaders, they're great Alaskan leaders for all of us, Native and non-Native. I think it's great that Commonwealth North is providing this award posthumously. He certainly merits it, the Hickel Award for Distinguished Public Policy and Leadership. And I know, Jake, you're smiling down on this ceremony right now in your humble but strong way, like you always have. So congratulations to the family and to you, Jake. The other side of that dynamic duo, Oliver Leavitt. My goodness, again, the list is so long. And for me, again, somebody that I've had the honor to call a friend and a mentor. One of the great pleasures in my life has been to be able to sit down with Oliver over a dinner or a beer and just ask him about history on so many things that relate to our state. Whaling, the Alaska Native Claims Settlement Act, how that moved through the Senate and the Congress. He still knows every detail, every element of that. And of course, was instrumental in moving so many of those issues. His dedication to our state, to our country, and to our people, again, both Native and non-Native, was such a great example of his leadership. And I know that, boy, were those two together, Oliver and Jake, a force. So congratulations, Oliver, on receiving the Hickel Award for Distinguished Public Policy and Leadership as well with your great partner, Jake Adams. You certainly deserve that. And then finally, where do we begin? I just call her Madam Secretary, the Honorable Tara Sweeney. But the connection between the three of them, I think so many of you know, is so real, so powerful, and so intergenerational. Like me, Tara learned so much from Jake Adams and Oliver Leavitt, still is learning so much. And in her own right has become one of our great leaders in our state. And again, not just a leader for the Alaska Native people in Alaska or the people of North Slope, she's become a leader for all Alaskans. And in her position now, U.S. Assistant Secretary of Interior for Indian Affairs, a leader for all Americans. She deserves it. I'm so proud to call her a friend, a colleague, somebody who knows how to get things done, somebody who is not afraid to give her advice. I've learned so much from Tara, and she's done an outstanding job in difficult circumstances. The list of her accomplishments is long, even though she's already so young. AFN co-chair, the assistant secretary, by the way, the first Alaska Native ever to have that really important job, the most powerful person in the federal government in charge of lower 48 Indian affairs and Alaska Native issues. Just a huge list of accomplishments at a very young age. Of course, her future is bright, limitless, but honoring the three of them today is so special because I'm pretty certain, Tara would admit it, she wouldn't have gotten nearly this far in her life with her great leadership skills, her great accomplishments, if it weren't for the mentorship and leadership and wisdom of Jake and Oliver. So once again, congratulations to all three. What a great honor. What a perfect trio that symbolizes leadership, integrity, humility, and the bright future we have, not just in Alaska, but in America. Have a great ceremony.
Hello, I'm Congressman Don Young. I hope you know me. If you don't, we're in real trouble. We just finished an election. It was quite interesting. I would like to thank Commonwealth North for having the ceremony. We've been together, very frankly, a long time. I think Commonwealth North is about as long as I've served. So I congratulate you on your efforts. I'd like to be there in person, but we're doing this video or Zoom. So again, excuse me, we'll be thinking about everybody that I won't be able to shake hands and say hello to personally. Of course, we're honoring some great Alaskans today, three of them, and they all happen to be Alaskan natives, which to me is very interesting, very helpful, and very good for the state of Alaska. The awards, of course, the Hickel and Egan Awards, and it's for leadership within the state. Earlier this year, we lost our good friend, Jake Adams, but today we come together to celebrate his life and his work. I know Jake for as long as he's been around. We first started the Alaska Native Land Claims Act. He's done a great job for the Alaska Arctic Slope. He was the leader. He loved the state. He loved his people, and he led. I loved him for that because he and I were good friends, and I have to keep complimenting everybody for bringing good leaders out of the North. That's very important for the rest of the state too. And again, of course, we have one of our favorites, my favorite, Oliver Leavitt. Oliver, bless his heart, has been also a dear friend, but we used to do things we couldn't do today. And Oliver, I may embarrass you a little bit, because I remember being up on the top of the crow's nest there in the Captain Cook Hotel, you and your lovely wife and my wife and everybody, and we had a little leg wrestling contest at the top of the hotel in the restaurant. Can you imagine doing that today? But again, Ollie, you did a great job. You think about the Native Land Claims Act, what you're able to do, how we achieved it, how you achieved it. It's really a great asset for you and I. Leadership, you bet. You're one of the best in the business. I really appreciate it. Well, anyway, we have some other things we have to worry about, but one of the other persons I want to recognize is Tara Sweeney. Tara knows back in Washington, D.C., another great leader. She's the first, I believe, the first Alaskan. I have a dispute about that because she's either the first Alaskan BIA director or Morris Thompson was. I'm not sure which one, but we were very proud of what she's been able to do. I'm hoping that she'll continue her service back east. If we lose this presidential election, she may not, but she's always going to be a leader. And I'm very confident she will take and continue her work for the good of this great state. So this is really one of the better times. You think about the three people you're honoring, carrying on the legacy of the Hickel and Egan Awards. That's part of history, which you have to keep remembering. And it makes me feel quite humble to be part of this ceremony, but also humble in the sense I love these people, what they're able to do, how they're able to do it. It means a lot to me. We're all in this together as Alaskans, all trying to leave a mark behind that people say, by golly, they did the job. And I'll guarantee you, those three really did the job. God bless you all. And Commonwealth North, I want to salute you. God bless you.
Many thanks to the members of our congressional delegation for their heartfelt messages to our honorees. Meade?
Well, thanks, Terry, and thanks also to the delegation. Right now we're going to present the William Egan Award. There will be a couple of others who speak, but I had a chance to know Bill Egan. I wasn't here at statehood. I got here as fast as I could, but he was an amazing man. And the William A. Egan Distinguished Alaskan Award recognizes Alaskans who inspire us to commit to public service and the future of our great state. As has been mentioned, tonight's Egan Award honoree is Tara Sweeney. Ms. Sweeney is the first Alaska Native and only the second woman to serve as Assistant Secretary for Indian Affairs with the United States Department of the Interior. In that capacity, she's responsible for carrying out the trust responsibilities for the management of tribal and individual Indian trust lands and assets. And as Assistant Secretary, she also promotes the self-determination and economic self-sufficiency of the nation's federally recognized American Indian and Alaska Native tribes. And recently, she's been a driving force behind the Operation Lady Justice initiative to bring focus and resources to address the tragedy of missing and murdered American Indians and Alaska Natives. Prior to her role as Madam Secretary, Tara has served in many roles, including co-chair of AFN and as chair of the Arctic Economic Council. So here tonight to pay tribute and to recount some of her other contributions, I'm pleased to introduce Kim Reitmeyer, who's Executive Director of the ANCSA Regional Association, Christina Woolston, who's External Affairs Manager at Donlin Gold, and Richard Glenn, Executive Vice President of External Affairs for Arctic Slope Regional Corporation. And in turn, each one will have some remarks about our honoree. Kim, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Chamai, and thank you for inviting me to be a part of this incredible evening. It is truly an honor. The past year has been trial by fire for many of us. Our world has changed in ways that we could never expected. And we all have faced difficulties adapting in our personal and professional lives. This is why when one person distinguishes themselves in a way that they have not only weathered these changes themselves, but have helped countless others to do so as well. It is important to recognize their efforts and spirit. Tara Sweeney is one such person, and she has been an inspiration for all of us during these difficult times. I have worked with and called Tara a friend for more than 10 years. And as our friendship has grown, nothing can express how happy and proud I was to call her Madam Secretary. Alaska has benefited tremendously from the knowledge and understanding Tara has brought to BIA and DOI. Tara is never one to bag or boast, so I'm going to mention just a few of the reasons why she's so deserving of tonight's recognition. Tara has always excelled at recognizing, supporting, and inspiring those around her, believing that the qualities of leadership can be found in everyone. It is a testament to the support system she has created of family and friends alike that this event is being held and that so many have come together this evening to recognize her achievements. A trailblazing advocate for Alaska Native people, Tara has always worked to break down barriers for others. A beacon of positivity, Tara's sense of humor and social grace have lightened the darkest of rooms. Creative and free thinking, Tara always looks for a workable solution and knows the value of compassion and compromise in finding common ground. Guided by those who have walked the path before us, Tara's traditional values are her compass. She has set a course of the highest integrity, respect, humility, and compassion. Whatever the next year brings us, I am confident that Tara will rise to handle it, and in doing so will help us together get in touch with our better natures. Her example is one I am proud to look to for inspiration. Tara, we love you, and we are here to celebrate you today and going forward. Congratulations.
Thank you, Kim. And now we're going to zoom in with Christina Woolston.
Thank you very much, Mead, and to Commonwealth North and to Oliver and all of the participants today. It's nice to see so many friendly faces from across Alaska, and as Tara sits in DC and the senators sit in DC across our great nation as well. I thought tonight was supposed to be a roast, but hearing everybody's comments, I'm quickly changing gears and I'm ready to toast Tara. So in all seriousness though, all of the things said about Tara and so much more are everything that we know and love about her. And I have the opportunity to talk a little bit about the impact that she's made in Alaska and her call to serve. And I met Tara in the year 2006 when she was running for the State House. It was a seat that her mother, Eileen McLean, held from 1989 to 1996. And so the legacy of strong women and leadership and the call to serve is something that Tara comes from a long line of. It's also a bit of a birthright. She fondly acknowledges, and I had the opportunity to get to know her Akame, one of, I think, the most prominent women in Tara's life. And certainly for all who met her, we can certainly see why. She is passionate, she is strong, she's a good leader, she is a pillar of strength, and has been for Tara for so very long. And we can see a lot of the qualities that Tara possesses coming from her Akame and also from her late mother, Eileen McLean. The call to serve often comes at great sacrifice. And for Tara, the sacrifice was multi-layered. She was incredibly successful in her role with ASRC, widely known and recognized and loved in Alaska, and had cultivated that career for more than 20 years. And to leave Alaska, which she loves, to uproot her family and to create a new life in DC at a point in her career when she was really at a pinnacle and a place of great success was a sacrifice. But again, her call to duty, her personal duty and call to serve was so strong that she took that challenge, and she has done so with grace and strength and a presence of mind and representation of not only Alaska Natives and Native Alaskans, but Native Americans and all Indigenous people across the United States. Taking on a position as she did in DOI is significant. It is not a small thing that she does to represent all of the tribal entities across Alaska and the lower 48 and in Hawaii. And we thank her for her service, and we thank her for always knowing where she calls home, being fair and being just in all that she represents in her role at DOI. And we are so proud of her service and her leadership in that role. It is significant as a woman in Alaska, an Alaska Native woman, to see the levels to which Tara has risen in her professional career. But I'd also like to talk a little bit about Tara's role in encouraging women and creating a space for women in Alaska. So much of what we know about Alaska leadership and the social network, social and professional network, is really geared towards men. And in her role at ASRC, Tara not only was successful and groundbreaking in her role and what she was able to accomplish, but she also created a space for dozens and dozens and dozens of women throughout Alaska to come together, to encourage each other professionally, to enjoy each other's company, to promote each other's companies and the good things that we were doing in industry, whatever industry that was, and also tribal entities. And this was the group fondly named by Tara as the League of Extraordinary Women, or LOW, as we like to call it. And I know there are a number of women on this Zoom today in recognition of Tara. And we thank you for bringing us together in a meaningful way that challenges us professionally, encourages us, and lifts us all up so that we can be the best versions of ourselves at home and at work for Alaska. And we know that everything that you brought in creating the League is a reflection of the women who raised you and all of the women in your community growing up that were instrumental in your success and in your rising star. The League thanks you. We are so encouraged to spread the love and to spread the opportunity and to include many more women for generations to come. We're thrilled that Caitlin, your daughter, is a member of the league, and certainly my daughter Charlotte looks to Aunt Tara as one of the most important role models that she's ever met in her life, and so many more. So Tara, thank you. We love you. And we hope that your very bright star continues to shine in Alaska and beyond. And we are excited for you.
Well, Christina, thank you very much. And we now have time on the program for Richard Glenn to join us. As I mentioned, Richard, are you on? Okay, now that's a guy who told me that he's always prepared there to speak about Tara. I can do the shuffle if you're getting on, but if we're missing Richard, what I would like to do now is, first off, it was wonderful to hear the description of talk about Eileen McLean, who I got to work with when she was in the legislature. Tara, you know, you have many laurels, but I just want to say that I always like to think of your son Amalik, who stole the show in that movie Big Miracle about the whales that were stranded in Barrow. A few years ago, I was there with you at the opening of that movie at a special event in Washington, D.C. And Amalik, if you're watching, you still got a fan. Now it is my pleasure to present the William A. Egan Award for Distinguished Alaskan to Tara McLean Sweeney. Tara joins us tonight from her home in Washington, D.C. And Madam Secretary, I don't know how I get this rock through the TV. You know, we can do a lot on Zoom, but I can't really pass you a trophy. But this is yours to get. We'll get it to you. And Tara, the floor is yours. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and thank you so much, Meade, for recognizing my son, my mother, and my family. I would like to acknowledge Commonwealth North and the sponsors this evening. I also want to give a shout out to Juanetta Ayers, who has done a tremendous job of organizing this event and making sure that we're able to dial in and to see each other. Tonight is very humbling to hear the accolades that have been shared by so many people. And as you know, maybe it's just a little awkward to hear other people talking about you and about individuals that you love. And this really is about family and about the support networks that we all have. And I go back to the support network of my family, my husband, Kevin, my two kids, Amarok and Caitlin, also my father and my brother, and my extended family with Alice Glenn, who I know is on the phone, and so many of my friends and colleagues that I spent many years with at ASRC, and of course my cousin and confidant Richard Glenn, who I think is having technical difficulties getting on, but that's no surprise. As we know, Richard, he sometimes loses his phone or loses his laptop, and he actually should be number 4 with respect to any sort of mention of Jake and Oliver or me, also Richard Glenn. I would like to just acknowledge those that came before me, the honorees tonight, or the previous honorees, as well as the honorees tonight, Jake and Oliver. Senator Sullivan said it correctly in that I certainly would not be where I am today without their guidance, their mentorship, and so many that are on the call, as I was scrolling through the names, have been impacted by the leadership of both Jake and Oliver. And whether it's Cheryl or Mary Ellen or Tina, I saw Angela Cox on there as well, Marie or Ty. Many of us have had the opportunity to sit and have coffee with Jake and Oliver. Many of us have also been scolded by Jake and Oliver from time to time. But it was in those times that through their patience and their guidance that we learned. We learned how to be decisive. We learned the importance of compromise and the importance of supporting our colleagues. We also learned the importance of owning the decisions that we made, but always using our INUBAP values as a compass in everything that we do. And so it is through their teachings and the support of their families as well, Annie, Lucille, their children, Martina, Billy, Mary Lou, Bucka, Maggie, that we have been able to work together on issues that are important, not only for the North Slope and not only for the Alaska Native community, but for all of Alaska. And it's extremely humbling to have this recognition and to have the support of the individuals who serve at Commonwealth North and through the support of organizations like ASRC and other Alaska Native organizations. But also, I would just like to acknowledge the sacrifice that so many family members make in support of Alaskan leaders, whether it is serving in the state legislature or at the local level or at the national level. Certainly it takes a strong support network. And I'd also like to thank Christina and Kim Reitmeyer for saying some very kind words, and to the congressional delegation that has always been supportive of the Alaska Native policy issues that we face, that we continue to advocate for on a daily basis, whether it's through Zoom or through in-person meetings or through teleconferences or consultations. And so it's so important to recognize the people that are part of that support network for those that are serving. And so to my family, I love you and thank you so much. To my friends that are on this Zoom call, thank you for your support. For those that I've worked with in the past, I appreciate the opportunity to continue that partnership, and to the organizations that continue to look for all of the positive in Alaskan society, to shine the light on things that are happening that are good in our state and with our people. I appreciate that. And so with that, thank you so much for this honor. I'm very humbled.
Congratulations. Beautiful. Well done. Thank you, Mead. Congratulations to Tara. And now let's turn to the Hickel Award. The Walter J. Hickel Award for Distinguished Public Policy Leadership was established in 1999 by Commonwealth North to recognize courageous leaders who turn talk into action. The Hickel Award is for a lifetime of achievement. It is reserved for those individuals whose contributions and achievements have played a significant role in advancing Alaska's public policy interests. In 2020, Hickel Award honorees are Oliver Leavitt and the late Jacob Adams Sr. Their remarkable commitment to leadership touched virtually every aspect of life in Alaska's North Slope borough. Both Jake and Oliver have been transformational leaders. Through their combined and individual leadership efforts, they worked tirelessly to improve the lives of the Arctic Slope Inupiat and indeed all Alaskans. Through their efforts, They created a legacy of strong advocacy and self-determination that brought the voice of the Arctic Slope Inupiat to boardrooms, international assemblies, and halls of power across the globe. Here tonight to pay tribute to Jake and Oliver, I am pleased to introduce our next slate of speakers, Willie Hensley, Lily Stevens Becker, Rex Rock Sr., and Crawford Puckkadak. First, we turn to Dr. William Hensley, visiting Distinguished Professor of Public Policy at the University of Alaska Anchorage. Willie was the 2009 recipient of the Hickel Award. Willie, please bring up your camera and unmute for your remarks.
Can you hear me?
Beautifully.
All right. Well, thank you. I'm just very pleased to have been invited to join this event tonight. I'd like to pay my respects to President Smith and President-elect Jepson, Chairman Putkota, President Rex Rock. It is just so exciting to be here to help celebrate the lives of some great friends and some wonderful leaders. And I'd like to commend Commonwealth North for doing this and recognizing three great people from our farthest north community in America. I think both Wally Hickel and Bill Egan would be elated to see this event. I worked with them both, fought with them both, and I think the formation of the Commonwealth North was a wonderful idea. And I've known Anali and Aviran for about 54 years, I think. We were all young in our 20s, you know, when we were getting started in our careers. By that time, I was already in the legislature and had been working on the land claims issue. When I met them, they both quickly gravitated towards putting life into both ASRC and the new borough. And, you know, it's amazing what they've done with their lives because neither had a college education. They had a great determination to learn through their experiences and to use their dedication to their people to bring about a better economy and an improved life for the people up there. And I made my first visit to Ottavik in '66. And it was a great experience. And I just recognized how warm it was there because they had the natural gas that at that time the Bureau of Indian Affairs had provided. And Jake went to Mount Edgecombe, Oliver went to Sheldon Jackson, and just across the channel. And when they returned, Jake was at the city, but then quickly moved over to ASRC. And Oliver, he came back from outside training and he was an electrician out there at the Naval Arctic Research Lab, but he also came over to ASRC. The great news is that both of them never lost their language in spite of the government's best efforts, thank God. And it became a real key vehicle for both of them as they began to help implement the corporation in ASRC. He instructed his Nalogmi staff to hire Flossie Hobson since she had a strong language skills, and they began to enroll and educate the people in the new ways of a corporation. And my understanding is that they were very, very patient as they traveled from village to village, enrolling people and explaining what it was that a corporation is all about. And sometimes they'd walk into a village and into a house where they were trying to enroll the head of the household and his family. But the head of the household was such a great storyteller, they'd literally spend hours in one house and they couldn't leave. And way back in the 60s, sad to say, we had lots of problems. The business community wasn't exactly on board. You know, at one point they had a chamber meeting and the head of the chamber was running around with an arrow through his cowboy hat. And they could not see what we were trying to do back then. we wanted to have control of our future as much as possible. We wanted to have economic opportunity that our people were making the decisions, and we just didn't want to be a customer in someone else's business. And in my mind, Jake and Oliver helped implement that vision in a very huge way. And they created the Arctic Education Foundation so that their own people could have the opportunity to get professional credentials and a college degree, something that they didn't have a chance to get. And they also specifically were very strong in mentoring individuals to bear the burdens of leadership when they began to retire. And some of those were like Mary Ellen Amarowak, Richard, Glenn, Crawford, Patkatuk, Tina Wolgamuth, and Butch Lincoln, whose grandmother delivered me, and also Tara. They were true to their culture. Both whaling captains. Jake chaired the Whaling Commission. They both supported one of their favorite entities, which is the search and rescue, made sure that they had the equipment and whatnot that they needed to safely bring people home. They both served on the Borough Assembly. And something that many people have forgotten is that Oliver served on the Local Boundary Commission when Anchorage and the city were merging. And he was a staunch opponent of this breakaway little area called Eagle River that wanted their own borough. So he didn't want to see that created because he thought they should be part of Anchorage, which they are. So in my mind, their contributions will live for a long time. They are unique individuals who exemplify what we had dreamed about over 50 years ago when we began to fight for our land and for our resources. And they've stayed true to their culture while building one of Alaska's premier businesses. And along with Commonwealth North, I salute them. Kuyana, very much.
Well said. Thank you, Willie, and we appreciate all you do as well. The late Senator Ted Stevens had a special friendship with all of tonight's honorees. It is my pleasure to introduce this message from his daughter, Lily Stevens Becker, on behalf of the late Senator and the Stevens family.
The relationship with my father and the Inupiaq people began over 50 years ago. When he was a young US Senator, Dad worked with Oliver and Jake on Alaska land claims and other critical legislation. Oliver, Jake, and many other Alaskans frequently flew to Washington to ensure Inupiaq voices were heard. Together, they determined regional boundaries, clarified cultural and subsistence resources, and laid the groundwork for economic sustainability in the region. Their counsel and friendship during those early years was a major part of my father's lifelong commitment to the Alaska Native people. These two extraordinary men became family. My brothers and sisters considered them uncles, as did I when I was born. They have always been a part of my world. My mother likes to tell me a story of how at 6 months old, I flew with them to Wainwright, wrapped in Annie Leavitt's bunting. Jake and Oliver made sure that my first real food was Maddie Bodfish's caribou stew. I have many fond memories of spending a summer in what was then called Barrow, working at the Elder Center. In the sunny evenings, I would go with Jake and Oliver to the shooting station camps to hear tall tales of Arctic life. Visiting villages throughout the North Slope with them and with Tara have been highlights of my life. Jake and Oliver each made an indescribable impact on Alaska and on their communities. Their tireless leadership will be an inspiration for years to come. The Walter J. Hickel Award is a fitting tribute to Jake and Oliver and their families, and I cannot think of a more deserving recipient for the William A. Egan Award than my dear friend Tara. My family and Alaskans everywhere join in this tribute. We have been blessed to have them in our lives, and we miss Jake dearly.
We thank Lily, Catherine, and the entire Stevens family for their message, and it definitely demonstrates the generosity of all the recipients tonight. Jake and Oliver were significant forces in the formation of the Arctic Slope Regional Corporation, Rex Rock Sr. and Crawford Pukchak. The present-day senior leadership of ASRC recorded their thoughts on Jake and Oliver's impact First, we'll hear from Rex Rock Sr., President and CEO of ASRC.
Thank you for the opportunity to say a few words about my good friend and trusted North Slope leader, the late Dr. Jacob Honoré Adams Sr. Across my company and the communities we represent and my family, we all miss Jake enormously. But no, he left behind quite a legacy for his region and for all his people. I am Rex Allen Locke Sr. and serve as President and CEO of Arctic Slope Regional Corporation. I'd like to congratulate all of the honorees who are being honored tonight. Not only Dr. Adams, but also Dr. Oliver Leavitt and my former colleague, Ms. Tara Sweeney. All are so deserving to be recognized for what they've done and are still doing for the Alaska Native community and others. Many who are watching tonight know of Jake's long history of leadership across Alaska's North Slope. He was involved with the Arctic Slope Regional Corporation even before its incorporation in 1972 and had remained an active leader in the company ever since. He served as the corporation's president and CEO from 1983 until 2006. And up until his passing in late September, was still on ASRC's board of directors. Jacob also served as North Slope Borough Mayor, President of the North Slope Borough Assembly, and Barrow City Council. Born and raised in a community of subsistence hunters and whalers, Adams was instrumental in forming the Alaska Eskimo Whaling Commission, where he served as chairman. He was also a member of the Barrow Whaling Captains Association and a volunteer for Barrow Search and Rescue. Outside of his resume, Jacob represented an increasingly rare list of Native Alaskan individuals whose leadership and tenure span a crucial time in the history of our country and Native people in particular. A generation that had experienced sod houses and dog teams, witnessed extraordinary culture, political and technical change, and somehow found a way to excel in the age of information superhighway. Outside of his resume, when it comes to Jake, I'll always remember his tireless service to our people and his dedication to our community, which was dominated by a work ethic hardly matched by others. If Jacob was doing something important, whether leading his whaling crew or debating an issue, he was prepared. He did his homework. In fact, one of our attorneys once said that Jacob is always the smartest lawyer in the room. He never wanted to debate, argue, or question Jacob Adams unless you were completely prepared for it. He was a patient Amo, Papa, father, and yet he held his people accountable. A man of few words, but importantly, a prepared leader dedicated to a higher purpose, and a man of faith. Lastly, I'll add that if you work with him in public service, you know he had high integrity. He expected a lot from himself and from his people, and he was patient, a very patient leader. I congratulate Jake on this prestigious award and thank Commonwealth North for this selection. Well deserved. Take food and God's blessing.
Thank you, Rex. Crawford Pucktuck currently serves as the chairman of the board for ASRC, as well as the executive vice president of stakeholder engagement. Crawford?
Good evening to all the distinguished guests who are joining us tonight from across Alaska and the rest of the nation. I am Crawford Pucktuck, and I humbly serve as chairman of the board of Arctic Slope Regional Corporation, the largest locally owned and operated company in our great state of Alaska. It's a title we've held for more than 26 consecutive years, and that level of success has not been an accident. ASRC, without a doubt, would not be the business it is today, a corporation employing more than 12,000 hardworking people across 47 of the 50 states and representing more than 13,000 Inupiat shareholders. Without the dedication, the leadership, and the long-term vision of the individuals we are honoring tonight, I can think of no dynamic duo more deserving of the Walter J. Hickel Award for Distinguished Public Policy Leadership than those who we are recognizing this evening, both who have been dear friends, an inspiration, and mentors. The late Dr. Jacob Honoré Adams, Sr., as well as Dr. Oliver Leavitt. It is my privilege to briefly talk about Dr. Leavitt before he joins us for this prestigious award. Oliver's resume is lengthy, so is the list of his service and contributions to his home region. In short, he's known for his commitment to the community as a business leader and as a whaling captain. He's also a U.S. Army veteran who served in the Vietnam War. Oliver has served in various leadership positions across the state of Alaska, and particularly on the North Slope. In 1970, he was elected treasurer of the Arctic Slope Native Association and served in that capacity for nearly 25 incredible years. He also served as a board member for the Alaska Federation of Natives. In 1972, Oliver was elected as the first president of the North Slope Borough Assembly and continued to serve on the assembly for more than 20 years. Oliver was elected to ASRC's board at inception in 1972, serving as treasurer until 1983 and later as chairman. He also served as vice president of lands as well as government affairs. In that role, Oliver joined Jacob Adams on countless trips to Washington, D.C., strengthening our relationships with lawmakers, including the late Senator Stevens, as well as defending our rights as landowners and newly formed Alaska Native corporations. For decades, he joined Mr. Adams in addressing development rights on ASRC lands, as well as cultural, social, and economic issues important to us and our people. Part of their legacy is successfully handing the reins and the responsibilities over to the next generation of Inupiat leadership. As I mentioned, Dr. Leavitt was instrumental in providing a voice for our long-term vision, and we have been fortunate to have him on our team and in our region. Please join me in thanking him for his tireless service and congratulating him for this award. Kuyanakbak.
Thank you, Willie, Lily, Rex, and Crawford for your remembrances of and reflections on Jacob and Oliver. Now it is my pleasure to present the Walter J. Hickel Award for Distinguished Public Policy Leadership to Oliver Leavitt.
Wow, it's my turn?
Congratulations.
Wow.
We now
I've
go
never
to
been-
Utiavik and Mr. Oliver Leavitt. Oliver, the floor is yours. Congratulations.
I've never been so honored in my life. I was really starting to enjoy it. Now you had to screw it up and let me speak. But good evening to everyone. From those joining us from across Alaska and even in Washington, D.C. It's a real honor to be recognized this evening. And I'd like to thank Commonwealth North, my good friend Crawford Putkutak, Senator Lisa Murkowski, Senator Dan Sullivan, and Congressman Don Young for the kind words and acknowledgement, to be joining my dear friend and the late Dr. Jacob and I, Adams Sr., in this evening, the Walter J. Award for Distinguished Public Policy Leadership is a blessing, and I'm very grateful. Congratulations to Tara McLean for the William A. Egan Award. She was always our distinguished Alaskans, but now the rest of the nation knows it too. Congratulations to the organizers of this event. And I know it isn't easy for the time of global pandemic to bring people together, and you found a way to do it successfully as well as safely. Perhaps in the future we can meet in person and not over a computer screen. Years ago, I would never have guessed this is the way we'd communicate. But 2020 has been anything but a normal year. I'll make my comments brief, but in being recognized for this award, it's important that I start by saying that in all of the things I was a part of to help the Inupiat people of the North Slope, as well as the rest of Alaska, I can't take credit in doing these things alone. The truth of the matter is, I have been blessed by being surrounded with good people who always shared the same vision, a common goal of improving the lives of those around us and keeping our gaze in the horizon. No one fits the definition better than one of the individuals we're honoring tonight. My former colleague, travel partner, and lifelong friend, the late Dr. Jacob Adams Sr. I'm still not over the loss of Jake from nearly 2 months ago. But now he has such a difference. He made such a difference in those in and outside of Alaska, Arctic, and it will always be remembered. Quite a legacy, huh? We've been described as the dynamic duo, and I guess that's a good way to characterize it as any. I came back to Alaska after being drafted in the Army and serving the Vietnam War to join another fight. And wow, during the Alaska Native Land Claims struggle, we certainly kept politicians and even oil executives on their toes. It was a battle worth fighting, and it certainly wasn't easy. But through countless trips to Washington, D.C. with Jake, I think we got our point across. Other friendships proved to be valuable as well. The late Ted Stevens became a good friend of mine, and as many of you know, I even had his wife, Anne, join me for whaling for a handful of years. Stevens could be fiery and determined. I always appreciate that he could not have had a better advocate for Alaska
and its people in Washington, D.C. than Ted Stevens. The late Senator Daniel Inouye was also a dear friend of mine. He joined Ted Stevens on countless issues over the years, pushing programs and benefits to his home state of Hawaii as well as Alaska. I still miss the man who many considered our third senator, the man who determined bipartisanship when we needed it the most. People have asked me where this fighting spirit comes from. For me, the value was helping our people, was taught in a very early age. I can tell you, I was trained by my mother, the important lesson of Inupiat values and standing our grounds are things I still pass along to my kids and my grandkids. It's important. If these lessons are lost today, they're gone forever. There's too much at stake. In closing, I'll just add that I believe our future of our people is in good hands. Tara Sweeney, our Secretary for Indian Affairs, is a good example of that. I've seen her determination firsthand and feel sorry for those who step in her way. We need this kind of leadership and more like her to guide the next generation. Again, I thank Commonwealth North for its leadership in helping to educate Alaskans to public policy issues, and for this recognition. I'm honored and humbled to receive this award. Kuyanakpuk. The end.
Congratulations. Well done. And now it is my honor to present the Walter J. Hickel Award for Distinguished Public Policy Leadership to the late Jacob Adams Sr. Tonight, also coming to us from Utiavik, representing the Adams family, please welcome Jackie, one of Jake and Lucille's daughters. Jackie?
Good evening. On behalf of the family of my father, Jacob, we thank you all for this award. Before my dad got sick, we were notified of the award, and I was right next to him and told him about it, and he was really happy. He knew he was getting this award before he passed on. And just want to thank you all on behalf of the family. I don't know what else to say.
That says enough. That's beautiful. Thank you so much. So congratulations to Oliver Leavitt and the late Jacob Adams. And this, we will make sure we get to the late Jacob Adams family. Thank you so much. And heartfelt condolences to the entire family and friends, everybody that we have around the state. We thank you for your leadership, your commitment to public service, and the indelible mark you have left on your community, the state of Alaska, and beyond. To the Adams family, we extend our condolences on the recent passing of your beloved father, husband, and grandfather. Mead?
Well, thank you. And Oliver, it was great to see you again. Tara, what a wonderful job too. And to the family of Jake Adams, I also want to pass on my condolences. So as the Hickel and Egan awardees expand tonight, look at that picture now. I went through all the names, but now we've added Jake, Oliver, and Tara. There's a legacy of leadership and public service as an example for us all. So that's worth a little bit of celebration. And since we can't pop a cork with you here tonight, we figured we'd bring in the Yupik musical group Bomua, and Stephen and Philip Blanchette, and I think it's Osi Karalak will be singing a song for us. Bomua.
Uyang tao lang akay, wibang ayayu ayang akay, ayakay, ayagan ng kan, ayayu ayang akay, pisuyan renang gagawin ng kan, akay, uyang tao lang akay, wibang ayayu ayang akay, ayakay, ayagan ng kan, ayayu ayang akay, itfayal renang gagawin ng kan, akay, uyang tao lang akay, wibang ayayu ayang akay, ayakay, ayagan ng kan, ayayu ayang akay, ayagan ng kan, ayayu ayang akay, gagawin ng kan, ayayu ayang akay, uyang tao lang akay, wibang ayayu ayang akay, ayakay. Ernak paka kawagalakto, ernak paka kawagalakto, ernak paka puchika ayukto, wayeheya, wayeheya, daklayuk paglo, yehe. Ernak paka kawagalakto, ernak paka kawagalakto, ernak paka puchika ayukto, wayeheya, wayeheya, daklayuk paglo. Ernak paka kawagalakto, ernak paka kawagalakto, ernak paka puchika ayukto, wayeheya, wayeheya, daklayuk paglo. Hilak takabaklu, temliyuk paklu, tangarakatlu, kenak pakilutek, ernak paka puchika ayukto, wayeheya, wayeheya, daklayuk paglo. Ernak paka kawagalakto, ernak paka kawagalakto, ernak paka puchika ayukto, wayeheya, wayeheya, daklayuk paglo. Dom da sukahwi, akong gang naknakma, ayalo yukto, ay tayong naso, ernak paka puchika ayukto, wayeheya, wayeheya, daklayuk paglo.
That is wonderful. Thank you, Bumya. We do have one other item of business to conclude tonight, and that's finding out who our door prize winners are. We have two door prizes thanks to the generosity of Alaska Airlines, Alaska Resort, and the Alaska Wildlife Conservation Center. First, let's draw for an Alaska staycation, which includes Alaska Resort and Hotel 2-night stay with 2 lift tickets and a $100 restaurant credit, and 2 tours for the Alaska Wildlife Conservation Center, a walk on the wild side. You've won that great package from Alaska Resort and the Alaska Wildlife Conservation Center. Our staff will be in contact with you to present the prize certificates. Mead.
Wow, that was amazing. Where do I get that app? And now for that awaycation opportunity. Thank you, Alaska Airlines, for donating 2 coach round trip tickets system-wide. Whether the winner travels soon, whether you as winner get to travel soon or sometime the next year, I know you'll appreciate the opportunity to fly on Alaska Airlines. So let's spin that new app again. That was Bill Walker. Bill, I'm honored to present that. Good luck to you.
Oh, beautiful.
So Terry, it's been a good night, and great honorees. I'm really sorry that we didn't get all the side conversations that we've gotten at these other events, but I will tell you, Oliver, you're probably still listening, and many of you know I worked for a long time with Governor Wally Hickel, and there was many days where you would see Wally holding court at one table in the breakfast nook at the Captain Cook Hotel, and Oliver and Jake holding court in the other, and they were often talking together also about how to make things happen. And I just want to say, I got to serve on the Arctic Research Commission after Oliver. I'm just really proud that Commonwealth North has looked north to this set of recognition tonight. And Terry, thank you. And we have lots of people to thank in terms of sponsors and organizers. So I'm going to let you start on that.
Well, thanks to all of our sponsors tonight. We couldn't have done it without you. And as we look at trying to help Alaska bridge the information divide as we look to find new ways to communicate, we couldn't do this without you. So thanks for all of your support. And for those that are online, make sure that you do get involved. We need your voice. And so thank you again for the visionary sponsors: Arctic Slope Regional Corporation, Leaders, Alaska Airlines, ConocoPhillips, Rasmussen Foundation, Providence Health and Services, Alaska, GCI, Advocates, Alaska USA Federal Credit Union, Alyeska, ANCSA Regional Corporation, Bristol Bay, Cognac, Logistics, Wells Fargo, Vitus, Quintillion, Oil Search, Ocean Beauty, and Linden. Mead?
Well, Terry, I also just want to say that sitting on the committee that helped organize this, we had a great committee, and really I'd like to thank Preston Simmons, who was our chair, Scott Jepson, Chris Knaus, Katie Marquette, yourself and myself. But we really do need to thank the folks at East Street Audiovisual, especially for giving me this isolation booth.
Thank you very much.
Juanetta and the team at Commonwealth North, I can't thank you guys enough. Thank you all.
Absolutely. And again, thanks for Buzz, Mark, Mary, and crew, and the logistics crew, Tony, Christy, and Corey. Thanks for making it all work. We appreciate it. And with that, Mead?
I guess, Mr. Chairman, I should say I move to adjourn.
We are adjourned. Thank you. Have a good night.
Good job.
Good people, thank you so much. That came off from our vantage point.
Oh, okay.